something easy. Hey, sweetheart. How are you? How are you? Good to see you. So I have a lot to say, and it's about a big topic that doesn't necessarily have to do with business marketing, but it does have to do with kind of personal marketing. And one of those things is the topic of social norms. I have never found that social norms are, first of all, completely norm, meaning they are fluid and dynamic, and they change from culture to culture, and even within cultures, and they change over time. They have some value and importance, obviously. However, as society changes and as individuals gain more power, it is easy to understand why certain social norms may be more important than others. Now, which of those social norms are important compared to which ones may be less important is of some personal interest or bias. Yet, it can be argued that all of them have some kind of important value, and some less so. What am I talking about? There are all kinds of social norms. There's social norms when it comes to culture, language, religion, food, music, work ethic, national ideologies or ambitions or movements, whatever it might be. Right? Every society has its own set of social norms, and many of them are highly relevant if you want to live well within the bell curve of your society. Many of them become less and less relevant over time as the individual gains more and more individual power to set about the values of their own life without so much worrying about adhering to the social norms, keeping up with the Joneses, and so on. Why do I mention this? Well, because one of the areas in life where social norms are a big factor is, in fact, education. Whether you're in private education, public education, homeschooling, it doesn't really matter. There are certain social norms in each culture that are expected by the larger group that may affect the person who is being educated, the student, just as much as it may affect the administration of the people doing the education, etc. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because when you're marketing yourself, you want to be able to adhere to the critical social norms that show that you do comply sufficiently to not be a complete and total outcast from your own society to the point where you may be considered a pariah or an enemy of state. Short of that, however, I think it's necessary as time goes on and as the empowerment of the individual increases over time to not adhere to most social norms that do not comply with your own personal set of values. And you might be asking, well, how does a young person know, for example, which are the social norms to adhere to and which ones aren't? Again, that's a matter of education, and that starts at home. And I believe that that's more important at home than anywhere else, even though, of course, school, whether public or private, plays a significant part of that, or whether homeschooled as well. Because, you know, if you're willing to send your kids or whatever to send the people you're legally responsible for to some kind of public school setting or private school setting, then there are certain rules you're supposed to comply with. However, I don't think it means that you need to comply with all of the recommendations, because not everybody is built the same. Not everybody wants to have the same experiences. Not everybody wants to be contained within, from a very early age, with the guidance of your parents. As long as your social norms are adequate, that you comply with the critical ones, that you don't worry so much about the do's and taboos of whatever given society you happen to be a member of, because total compliance turns people into gray blobs. And what is the purpose of that? Humanity escaped the gray blob factor around the time of Since Forever. And whenever we are more leaning towards the gray blob, where everybody is the identical same thing, it's never been entirely gray blob, but the more humanity and society leans into that, the less diverse are the characters and opinions, which is convenient for those that think that they manage the masses, but it is highly counterproductive for the goals and ambitions of the individual. And by that I mean people, as individuals, have their own set of goals that may not align with the bulk of social norms. And it does not behoove them to follow all of the social norms, because they may get further away from their goals. They may find that their drive and their ambition falls the more they are forced to comply with social norms. So, while there is, again, some merit and some value in maintaining certain critical ones, and when I say critical, I don't even mean basic, but I mean critical ones, again, to observe the norms that keep you with enough within the distribution that you are not considered an enemy or a pariah of the society. Apart from that, I think it's good to be an outlier, for the most part, for individualism. And this is a strong proponent argument for individualism, and a strong argument against collectivism, which, while it may have some merits for the collective of the society and the greater good of society, is not necessarily good or in the interest of the individual. And there you have it. Have a lovely day.